Today is Monday, December 22nd, 2025. This is First Alert Weather Plus. Meteorologist Nicholas Snyder here with the latest info on everything we need to know. And while it has been warm and while it will be warm over the next few days, that weather's not going to last for too much longer. We do have changes on the way. That's coming with a storm system that is moving in for the weekend. In the meantime, by Christmas, it is not looking too bad over the area. So there's some good news for you. We'll also take a look at that long-term forecast and what that could bring over the area. Certainly things that everyone will want to know. So let's start with our water vapor satellite, as we always do here on First Alert Weather Plus. I want you to notice the big area of high pressure that is over the southern United States. Here's our jet stream right here. I'll highlight it for you with the arrows. And you'll notice warm air and high pressure overhead. Again, much of the central and southern United States. That's why we're seeing those warmer conditions. With the jet stream that is directly overhead, though, there will be a few minor disturbances that will rotate their way on through. And that's going to come as we head toward, let's say, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, as well as tonight into tomorrow, with a couple of areas of weak low pressure driving a little bit of precipitation into the area. And that's what we'll have to watch. Now, it's not going to be anything major, but certainly could cause a few sprinkles for us during those time frames that I did mention earlier. Here's a closer look at that. Again, you can see the counterclockwise swirl that is over the central United States. But with that moisture overhead, a few minor disturbances. Here's one right here, for instance, that's pushing in, again, a few areas of energy to much of the Appalachians, to the Allegheny Plateau. And that's going to push in, again, a little bit of light rain, light snow to the mountains, but mainly rain for the lowlands overnight tonight. Meanwhile, another little disturbance up here in Montana, moving into North Dakota as we speak, and that's going to ride along that jet stream and, again, drive in a little bit of activity as we head into Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So it's not a totally quiet pattern. It's also not a totally active pattern. We remain kind of in between systems, if you will, with that stationary boundary setting up. Now, there is much colder air to the north and the warmer air to the south. We're, for the most part, going to be on the warmer side of this activity. Up to the north in northern Ohio, they're not going to get out of the upper 30s and lower 40s. But we should see 50s and near 60 degrees for the rest of the week this week, and I'm sure that's going to mean good things for a lot of us, especially travel. Travel is a big concern for this week. With Christmas coming on Thursday and Christmas Eve coming on Wednesday, a lot of people are going to be out and about, and certainly there are going to be impacts to that. But luckily, weather-wise, we should be A-OK. Traffic-wise, I don't know. You'll have to check in with Marley for that one. But the weather's not going to cause you too many issues, at least locally. Now, if you're traveling out to the West Coast, you may notice back here out toward L.A., Vegas, San Francisco, even into the Pacific Northwest, another atmospheric river. Things are getting active for the western United States, and they do definitely need that rain, but they don't need rain causing delays or cancellations for Christmas travel. That's something we don't want to see, but that's been the pattern really for the second half of December so far, is all of these systems back to the west where they've seen all this storminess, and meanwhile we've seen all of the warmer conditions and the drier conditions that have been overhead. Now, again, a few disturbances coming in will drive in a little bit of light precipitation. We'll talk about that right now. First and foremost, though, I want to talk about the temperatures. We're into the upper 30s and lower 40s around the region, so kind of where we should be for this time of year for sure. But the dew points, that measures the amount of moisture in the air. Notice this, in the 20s. Any precipitation that tries to fall in these 20-degree dew points is going to evaporate right away. It's not going to reach the ground. We've seen so many green returns, white returns, pink returns on the radar today, and certainly up further to the north, up toward Columbus, they've seen a little bit of snow activity up there. Meanwhile, over our region, again, it's been dry. We have not seen anything as far as that precipitation is concerned, and we're not expected to see any precipitation, at least for the evening. Now, overnight, some moister air, and by that I mean dew points maybe into the 30s as opposed to the 20s back here toward Louisville, Lexington. These will move in. That will allow us to see maybe a little bit of light rain later tonight into the morning hours of tomorrow. Again, it's really hit or miss stuff. The forcing here is so weak that we're not going to be necessarily seeing anything too bad. Now, once we head into the higher elevations, notice this, winter weather advisory is in place. This is in place for this evening and tomorrow morning. Now, high up in those elevations where the temperatures are colder, it's closer to the dew point, so that precipitation will start to reach the ground there. So going into Greenbrier County, Pocahontas County, southern into eastern Randolph County right here, that's where we could see a little bit of snow, a light coating of snow possible. Meanwhile, the lowlands, again, outside of a few showers, it's not going to do much. So travel locally in the lowlands, outside of the mountains, we should be A-OK. Let's set the map in motion here. I want to show you these few minor disturbances moving in. Here's the one that tried to come through earlier today, the right entrance region of this jet right here. Why is this important? We see a lot of diverging air. Imagine you're on a freeway, an interstate, multiple lanes of traffic going through. You have cars in the far left lane going really fast, and in your lane, everything's going really slow. The cars going really fast are going to be further apart, meaning air is diverging away. When air diverges, we have rising motion beneath that. Hence, we're seeing that precipitation really developed into this area. And that's why we saw the cloud coverage and, at least in central Ohio, a little bit of precipitation earlier on today. We're going to see another little weak disturbance move through overnight tonight. And again, it's one of these right entrance system that I was mentioning earlier. Another one of these coming Wednesday night into Thursday. So let me clear off these circles for you, highlight exactly what we're talking about. Again, right in here is where that rising motion is going to be. You get that rising motion, you get some moistening of the lower levels of the atmosphere, you're going to start to get precipitation overhead. Luckily, our temperatures are going to be above freezing. So again, no impact to Christmas travel. You should be good for that. And of course, that's very good news for a lot of us who do have Christmas travel going on. But again, I'm highlighting this really to show you how weak these systems are. They're not going to be anything too strong. They're not going to cause anything majorly impactful. And because it's just straight rain that's falling, you should be really good. And, of course, the timing of this is also going to be really good for a lot of travel as well. We'll see another weak system coming in on Friday. This one is a little bit lower in amplitude. It's going to make its way a little bit faster through the region as it works its way into the jet stream and further east through the area. But again, it's not going to do a whole lot, just a few showers. Though this forcing is a bit stronger over the area compared to what we're seeing on Wednesday night to Thursday as well as tonight into tomorrow. So this may drive a few more widespread showers. Still not going to be a huge deal. No flooding concerns, no snow concerns, no freezing rain concerns or anything like that. We should be good. Let's talk about the precipitation. Again, Futurecast showing a few showers tomorrow morning. That's about it. Nothing going to be too bad. Moving forward to Wednesday night and Thursday, again, just a few showers. Not going to be too bad. Just have those umbrellas on hand if you're doing any late night travel Wednesday night to Thursday, as well as early morning travel or late night travel tonight. Of course, make sure those windshield wipers are working. You'll get under a sprinkle, 5 to 10 minutes. You should be fine later on. And with each passing system, I might add, that front's going to nudge a little bit further to the north. So those temperatures are going to be nudged a little bit higher. Hence why we're seeing 60-degree highs as we head into Christmas Day. As far as Santa's forecast is concerned, as those reindeer are making their way onto the rooftops on Christmas Eve, they may need the umbrellas. Santa may need some, let's say, snow goggles for the rain. Temperatures only into the upper 40s and lower 50s, though, so not overly cold on Christmas Eve. It's almost like a spring or a fall night overhead as opposed to a winter night overhead on Christmas Eve. Make sure Santa can find a way down the chimney, and honestly, you probably won't even need a fire going on Wednesday night into Thursday because of how warm it is going to be outside. With, unfortunately, the warmer temperatures, the ski forecast maybe not looking so good, but Chief Meteorologist Tony Cavalier has a preview of that and what we could be expecting going into the holiday week.
And I've got a little story to tell. I've skied twice in my life. Back in the late 80s, I would go up to Snowshoe and do a weather seminar that would end with some late-day skiing. The first year I went, I took a lesson and was able to learn the wedge and go downhill. The next year, I was so late getting out of the seminar that I had to try to remember what I had learned the year before. So I'm heading down Skidder Run, the bunny run, and all of a sudden, I'm going faster and faster. And what went through my mind was, this is how people break their legs. I didn't panic, and once I was on the downslope and I hit a flat patch, I dove into the snow, took my skis off and said, I'll never ski again. I ice skate, but I can't ski. All right, snow reports. When you see the EST estimated, I'm a little disappointed at Winter Place, Timberline, Canaan Valley, and Wisp for not listing their actual snowfall for the year at their website. Come on, guys, you get better than that. But I have estimated based on the weather pattern. For example, we know Snowshoe puts their number out at 27 inches. Likewise, Seven Springs in Pennsylvania has 30 inches. But the others I've had to estimate based on the pattern. Timberline and Canaan Valley have done better than Snowshoe because of a northern storm track that delivered snow to Tucker County, for example. Winter Place, do you remember when we were getting those southern snows? I'm estimating close to 30 inches. But all these are good numbers because we've been able to make snow pretty much all late November and December. And expectations are, again, I'm estimating northern Maryland, that would be Garrett County, Maryland, on I-68, about 35 inches. So good amount of snow early in the season, and that has beefed up the actual bases at our favorite resorts. I think it's more of a machine groomed than packed powdered surface even at Winter Place and Seven Springs on Monday. Now, as the week unfolds, I think the variable conditions will take hold because it will be hard to make snow second half of the week up at the ski lodges. But Monday will be an excellent day to be heading to the slopes, and I think the surf, or should say the turf, the base becomes a little, we'll call it variable, a little more loosey as temperatures warm second half of the week. Trails open, 30 Snowshoe, waiting for the Western Territory to open. That would be, of course, Cup Run and, of course, Shays Revenge. Canaan Valley at 10 trails, Timberline, Winter Place, you get the idea. Good ski conditions for so early in the season, but the caveat is no snow is expected until probably close to the first of the year. So the best ski conditions are likely to be Monday, and each day the surf, or I should say the slope, become a little looser, a little less good to be skiing on. The current snowpack is now listed in this area in white. And you can see it's from north of Chicago, Minneapolis, Green Bay, Milwaukee, up to Toronto, of course, Buffalo. It was last Monday and Tuesday that the snowpack went all the way down into the Smoky Mountains. So we have whittled away a good portion of that. And in fact, the forecast continues to highlight a retreating snowpack as warm air infiltrates the country. That's warm air in relation to normal. When I say warm air in Minneapolis, for example, you're talking about highs in the 30s. And here, highs in the 50s and 60s.
Thank you, Tony, for that report. Of course, yeah, it's been warm over the last few weeks, and I know those ski resorts, they've been struggling and really over the last few years to get people in for Christmas time because of the lack of snow that we've had. So the early December snow was a blessing, but unfortunately the warmer conditions that we've seen since, let's say, last week, it has not been very great for those ski resorts around the area. Let's get back to talking about our next storm that's headed in. We are going to see a pattern change back to cold and snow as we head toward the new year. So those snow lovers, it is time to rejoice. It's this system right here. It's well back to the west. It's this area of low pressure, this little swirl you see here in our water vapor satellite. Right now, of course, it's causing an atmospheric river into portions of California, up toward San Francisco, L.A., Vegas, into interior southern Idaho, where my first job was over here in Twin Falls, Idaho. They're seeing an atmospheric river system. And that atmospheric river system is going to bring in fact, two systems. One that's coming on Friday with the warm fronts, and another one that's going to bring a strong cold front into the area as we head into Sunday. And that one we are definitely going to notice. So let's move this forward in time here. You notice that very, very strong wind high up in the sky, and that diverging air high up in the sky with this next system. Again, that's going to create a lot of lift, not a whole lot of moisture. If I move this backwards, you'll see how a northern stream of this energy kind of comes together with that southern stream of energy. Let's move this back toward, let's say, Saturday. Notice this northern stream up in Montana and the southern stream down into the Four Corners. As we push this forward, as they come together, we'll see a much stronger area of low pressure with that wind strengthening high up in the sky. The stronger diverging air creates lower pressure at the surface. So that's why that pressure is really going to get a lot lower. we're going to be seeing those much stronger winds overhead, and that's going to be the thing that we definitely notice more so than the wind. Because we're dealing with a northern stream system here, there's not going to be a whole lot of moisture with this. We'll go more in depth into that here in just a second. Let's talk about the temperature drop, though. This is our low-level temperatures. You saw the greens earlier. That really mentioned 60s over the area Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday night to Monday, that's where things change. We get back into those purples, the pinks. That's going to drop us down into the 30s and 20s. 20s for overnight lows on Sunday night, 30s for your highs on Monday. So winter will be back for sure. The white line's very close together, very tight pressure gradient as well. So that means we're going to see very strong winds overhead, gusts up to potentially 30 miles an hour. And once you get that cold air moving in, that cold air sometimes like to pull the stronger air, or the stronger wind, I should say, high up in the sky down to the surface. So that's why we could see those gusts up to 30 or 35 miles an hour. Right now, below first alert weather day threshold, which is good, really won't cause any power flickers, at least the way it's looking now. This could definitely change down the line. That's why we're watching Sunday very closely. And if we do need a first alert weather day for that, we will put it out. I really want to put this caveat out there. It is not going to be like anything we saw Thursday night into Friday. Thursday night into Friday was a thunderstorm wind event along a line of storms, and those storms really pulled down that really strong wind high up in the sky. It's not going to be the case with this system. It is going to be an ordinary wind. In fact, because there's not a whole lot of moisture associated with this system, as you'll see here, notice just the lack of moisture. When you want to get some thunderstorms, you want to see something like this down here in Arkansas, down here northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, northern Louisiana, and western Mississippi. That's where you get the moisture rich enough to create the thunderstorms. Over our region, it's this faded light green zone that is just not potent enough to produce anything as major as thunderstorms over the area. It's not to say that we won't see enough lift to generate some showers, but as far as the moisture is concerned, because we're in a moisture-starved system with what's coming in on Sunday into Monday, we're not going to be seeing any thunderstorms out of this. Just a few showers that we will see. And you'll see that here on the Futurecast. Notice, again, just some light rain scattered throughout the area as that front comes through. Meanwhile, I want to point out, too, Sunday's high is going to be 58. That's going to come in the morning on Sunday. Well before a lot of us are going to be up and about going to church services, anything like that. By afternoon, we should be in the 40s. So really something to keep in mind there. The winds will be gusty as well there. You'll see that front clear the area. Very little snow coming with this, but of course the temperature drop is something you will notice for sure as we head on down the line. Let's talk about that long-term pattern. Going over to the other weather computer here. The all-important Madden-Julian Oscillation, or MJO. We've been talking about this for the last month or so, and how it has been in this Phase 8. It's been stuck in this Phase 8, that cold pattern. That's part of the reason why we've seen such a long period where, well, it's just been on a very, very cold track. As the GFS is showing here, we're going to likely get into Phases 1 and 2 as we head toward let's say the beginning and middle of January. So it is likely that we stay in this cold pattern, but once we head into February, back into phases 3 and 4 indicates some warmer patterns. And if you watched our winter weather special, Dylan Gaudet really talked about this. As we head into February, it's likely that we're going to start to see an early spring. But as far as January is concerned, we stay phase 8, 1, and 2, which is the colder phase of that MJO. Now, I know we're in phase 8 right now, and we're seeing that warmer trend. That has to do with the North Atlantic Oscillation being on the positive side, though look at what happens toward the end of the forecast period. Once we head toward the new year, that NAO is back negative. The same thing is true for the Arctic Oscillation. It goes back negative. So what that means is right around that time when that system's coming through, we're going to start to see that pattern flip back to a colder pattern. What that means for snow remains to be seen. However, when the MJO's in phase 1, when the AO's negative and the AO's negative, you've got a pretty good signal right there for the development of some much cooler air working into the continental United States. Let's talk about it here on our big map. Again, this is the European long-range model. You notice how that Arctic Oscillation or the polar vortex is very, very strong. But here's that signal of change right here. We see this branch down here. We see warmer air pushing up toward Greenland and into the North Atlantic, signifying that change. We need to get the Alaskan cold air out of Alaska and down here into the United States to really make this pattern go full force. We'll have to see what happens, but as long as that cold air is up in Alaska and this ridge of warm air is well back to the west in the North Pacific, it's going to be continued short-lived cold spells as opposed to long-lived cold spells like we saw the first half of December. We'll have to see about that. This particular model is showing this warmer air trying to make its way into Alaska. It's also showing that NAO, or the North Atlantic Oscillation, trying to go back negative. The polar vortex still pretty strong, so this signals, again, still a positive, or at least a weekly positive Arctic oscillation. But again, once we head into the 1st of January, that's when things should, for the most part, start to change, and we'll see that split of the polar vortex. And we'll see if some colder air can make its way down, one last stint of colder air, I should say, into the continental United States into January before what looks to be a much warmer February overhead. Closer look at this. My apologies for the data really not showing up on this. We'll get that fixed for you. But again, it's showing essentially the same thing. Let me try to get this fixed for you so it does work. Bear with me here while I do that. The main name of the game, though, is what we're going to be seeing is the continued development of cooler air beyond, let's say, this week as we head into next week. Here's the latest data. Again, there's that warm air coming in for Thursday and Friday. We get that shot of cold air as we head into the weekend, and it looks to be that we'll start to see this colder air right here over towards southern Canada into the northern plains really start to take shape over the area, which should drive in some more snow chances as well, especially when you're along this gradient like we're seeing here with the cold air up to the north and the warm air to the south. Somewhere in this zone, we should start to see a stormier pattern set up, and that could mean some more snow chances as we head into the end of the month and the 1st of the year. Can you believe it'll be 2026 in just a matter of a week? That is pretty crazy. So as far as days 6 to 10 here, this includes, again, from Sunday to about next Thursday, above average temperatures for sure. If we went a little bit beyond that, in fact, let me pull this up on the other computer here to really show you and hammer home what could be coming our way as far as a pattern change is concerned. We should see a little bit of a cooler pattern, or at least a closer to average pattern, show up here on the climate outlook in 8 to 14. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Let's take this computer. You notice the above average temperatures migrating a little bit further to the west. We're only slightly above average with below average temperatures moving back in. Again, once you get along the gradient of the cooler air to the north and the warmer air to the south, it remains to be seen if we do see maybe a few more snow chances trying to work back in. Going back to the weather graphics computer, as far as precipitation is concerned from the Climate Prediction Center, looks to be a little bit below average. So again, that drier air with that system that will be coming through on Sunday won't make it so there will be a whole lot of snow chances. But we'll have to see once that colder air really takes shape over the region for the first part of January. Super 7-day forecast, where, of course, we pull out anything too impactful. I mentioned that Christmas Eve forecast again. Let's show it again for Santa Claus if he's watching at the North Pole. That's the official Christmas station up there, WSAZ, by the way, up at the North Pole. That's who Santa watches for the weather in Huntington and Charleston. Christmas Eve, 48 degrees. We'll see rain falling here or there periodically overnight tonight. So Santa, again, may need a raincoat. The reindeer may need some goggles to keep the rain out of their eyes. So we head into Sunday night, into Monday. Temperatures really drop. Again, that 58 coming in the morning. By evening, we should be in the 40s, overnight into the 20s. It is going to be very cold Sunday night into Monday, and that remains with highs in the 30s as we head into Monday with maybe a few snow chances up in the higher elevations, but overall snow chances at least over the next 7 days remain fairly low. This is First Alert Weather Plus. We give you the first alert on anything you need to know in terms of impactful weather. We go in depth into how we make the forecast, and we tell you what exactly is going on in the atmosphere in easy to understand explanations. We air every Monday, 6:45 p.m., right after the 6 p.m. news on WSAZ Plus. You can also check out our YouTube channel, WSAZ First Alert Weather Plus. Be sure to subscribe to that. where we have all our old episodes, I should say, and we're going to be posting this episode tomorrow on that. If you want to go back and watch any of those old episodes on that YouTube channel, you can as well. And, of course, you can find them always on wsaz.com/weather, and you click that First Alert Weather Plus tab. Follow us on Facebook. I'm meteorologist Nicholas Snyder on Facebook. Dylan is Dylan Goday Weather on Facebook. Tony is Tony Cavalier on Facebook. We would love to see you follow us there and grow our Facebook community. In the meantime, make it a great Monday, everybody.